Imagine you're standing outside 5,000 years ago. It's the middle of the day. The sun is directly above you. People are working. Children are running around. Animals are grazing nearby. Nothing is unusual. Then someone looks up. A piece of the sun is missing. At first it's tiny, just a dark bite taken out of the edge. Then it gets bigger and bigger. The sunlight starts fading. The air gets colder. Except it's the middle of the day. You have no telescope, no eclipse glasses, no astronomy class. You don't know the moon is about to pass between you and the sun. You don't even know you're standing on a planet floating through space. All you know is that the sun has been there every single day of your life, and now something is eating it. A few minutes later, it disappears. The sky goes dark. Stars appear above you, and where the sun used to be is a black circle surrounded by white fire. Today, people spend thousands of dollars traveling across the planet just to see this. 5,000 years ago, you might have thought the world was ending. And honestly, that reaction makes a lot more sense than you think. Because to understand why eclipses were so terrifying, you have to forget almost everything you know about the sky. Forget planets, forget gravity, forget orbits, forget that Earth goes around the sun, forget that the moon goes around Earth, forget that somebody already calculated the exact second the eclipse will end. Now look up again. The sun isn't just another object in the sky. It controls your entire life. It tells you when to wake up. It tells you when to hunt. It tells you when to work. Your crops depend on it. The animals around you depend on it. And every evening, when it disappears, you know something important. It will come back. Humans had watched the sun set and rise for generation after generation. Night was dangerous, but night made sense. This didn't, because now darkness was arriving at noon, and there was no countdown telling you when the sun was coming back. That's the part that's easy to forget. You know, an eclipse lasts minutes. They didn't. For all you know, the sun is gone forever. And humans did what humans have always done when something terrifying happens and nobody can explain it. They created an explanation. At Loughrea in Ireland, researchers found ancient stone carvings that may represent a solar eclipse visible around 3,340 BCE. We can't know exactly what the people who made those carvings thought. But once written records start appearing, something interesting happens. People all over the ancient world start treating eclipses like something has gone seriously wrong. Ancient Chinese records are some of the clearest. More than 3,000 years ago, scribes recorded eclipses on animal bones and tortoise shells, and their description was brutally simple. The sun had been eaten. Think about that. Not covered, not temporarily blocked by the moon. Eaten. Later, Chinese traditions described a celestial dragon attacking the sun, and people responded the only way that made sense if you genuinely believed a monster was swallowing the most important object in existence. They made noise, drums, pots, shouting, anything that might scare the creature away. Which sounds ridiculous now, until you think about what happens next. The sun comes back. The monster leaves. From your perspective, the plan worked perfectly, and now imagine being a child watching this. The sky turns black. Everyone in your village starts screaming and hitting things. Then the sun slowly returns. What are you going to believe the next time it happens? Probably whatever the adults who apparently just saved the sun tell you. But eclipses weren't always seen as monsters. Sometimes they were worse. They were messages. In ancient Mesopotamia, people spent enormous amounts of time studying the sky. To them, unusual events above weren't random. They could be warnings, and a solar eclipse could mean something very specific. The king was in trouble. This was taken so seriously that some Mesopotamian rulers used a ritual involving a substitute king. If an eclipse was interpreted as a dangerous omen for the real ruler, another person could temporarily take the king's place. The logic was basically this. If the heavens are coming for the king, give them a different king. Imagine being the substitute. Congratulations, you've been promoted. Unfortunately, the gods may be trying to kill your boss, and you're currently wearing his crown. But underneath all these stories was the same problem. Something impossible was happening above them. And a total eclipse is much stranger in person than it looks on a screen. You've probably seen pictures. Black circle, white glow, looks cool. That's not what your body experiences. As more of the sun disappears, the light itself starts looking wrong. Not like sunset, not like a storm, just wrong. Shadows become unusually sharp. The temperature can noticeably fall. Birds may return toward their nests. Insects can begin making evening sounds. Animals start responding to a nighttime that arrived hours early. Then the last piece of direct sunlight disappears, and the corona becomes visible, the sun's outer atmosphere, a huge pale halo surrounding a completely black center. Your entire environment changes in minutes. Even modern people who know exactly what's happening describe totality as eerie. Some cry, some scream, some just stare, and they know the sun is coming back. You don't. That's the difference. Remove the science, remove the phone in your pocket, remove the person beside you saying, totality ends in 90 seconds. Now experience the exact same thing. Suddenly, the dragon doesn't sound quite as stupid. But here's where the story gets interesting. Ancient humans didn't stay confused forever. Because if you watch the sky long enough, you start noticing something. It repeats itself. The moon follows patterns, the sun follows patterns, the stars follow patterns, and eventually civilization started recording those patterns. Babylonian astronomers became extraordinarily careful observers of eclipses. They recorded them on clay tablets, generation after generation, and over time they recognized repeating eclipse cycles. The terrifying random event wasn't completely random anymore. That changed everything, because predicting something takes away part of its power, not all of it, just enough. There's a famous story from the Greek historian Herodotus about a war between the Medes and the Lydians in the 6th century BCE. According to him, the armies were in the middle of fighting when day suddenly turned into night, and both sides stopped. Think about how insane that is. Two armies are actively trying to kill each other, then the sun disappears. And apparently everybody has the same thought. Maybe we should deal with this first. Herodotus wrote that the eclipse had been predicted by Thales, although historians still debate exactly how accurate that part of the story is. But whether every detail happened exactly as described almost doesn't matter. The story tells you how much power an eclipse had over people. War could wait. The sky was doing something impossible. Eventually, humans figured out what was actually happening, and the answer turned out to be almost disappointingly simple. The moon passes between Earth and the sun. That's it. The moon is much smaller than the sun, but it's also much closer to us. From Earth, they happen to appear almost the same size in the sky, so when all three objects line up correctly, the moon can cover the bright face of the sun. The dragon disappears, the omen disappears, the angry gods disappear, and what replaces them is geometry, which should make eclipses boring, but it doesn't. That's the strange part. You can understand exactly what an eclipse is. You can know exactly when it starts, exactly when totality happens, exactly how long it lasts. You can literally watch an animation of the moon's shadow moving across Earth before it happens, and then totality arrives and your body still reacts. Your heart speeds up, the temperature falls. The brightest object you've seen every day since you were born suddenly disappears. And for a few seconds, some ancient part of your brain doesn't care that you passed science class. Something feels wrong. Maybe that's why eclipses have stayed with humans for so long. We change the explanation, but we never completely change the reaction. 5,000 years ago, someone may have looked upward and thought the sun was being destroyed. Today, you look upward and know you're standing inside the shadow of the moon. They had monsters. We have orbital mechanics. They had omens. We have predictions accurate to the second, but both of you are standing underneath the same black sun. Both of you feel the world suddenly gets colder. Both of you watch daylight disappear. And for those few minutes, the difference between you and the person staring at the sky 5,000 years ago becomes surprisingly small. Because before you remember the science, your brain notices one thing first. The sun is gone.